The mop hit the floor with a wet slap as Angela watched the doctors ignore her again, not knowing she was about to save a life they couldn't. Angela wiped her hands on her uniform and looked at the chaos around her. Room 304 at City General Hospital had become a mystery that was killing a young boy named David, and nobody could figure out why. "His organs are failing," Dr. Williams said to Dr. Martinez as they stood outside the room. "We've run every test. Nothing makes sense." Angela squeezed her mop tighter. For 3 days, she had cleaned this room. For 3 days, she had watched 8-year-old David get worse while his mother, Sarah, cried by his bed. For 3 days, she had bitten her tongue. But today was different. Today, Angela noticed something the doctors missed. The strange smell. The way David's fingernails had tiny blue marks. The pattern of his sickness that reminded her of something from her chemistry books. You see, Angela wasn't just a cleaner. 5 years ago, she was 2 semesters away from finishing her chemistry degree. Then her husband died in a car crash, leaving her with bills and no way to pay for school. So she took the only job she could find, cleaning floors at the same hospital where she once dreamed of working as a scientist. "Excuse me," Angela said softly to Dr. Williams. He didn't look up from his chart. "The room's clean enough. You can come back later." "Doctor, I think I might know what's wrong with David." Dr. Williams finally looked at her, his face showing annoyance. "You think you know? You're a janitor." Angela felt her cheeks burn. "I studied chemistry for 3 years. I notice things. Chemistry." Dr. Martinez laughed. "This is medicine, not mixing cleaning solutions." But Sarah, David's mother, heard everything. She walked out of the room, her eyes red from crying. "Please," she begged Angela. "If you have any idea at all, tell me. They say my son might die, and they don't know why." Angela's heart broke looking at Sarah. She remembered losing her own husband, the feeling of being helpless while the world fell apart around you. "The smell in David's room," Angela said. "It's like bitter almonds, but very faint. And his fingernails have tiny blue spots." His symptoms started suddenly, got better for a few hours, then got much worse. That's not a normal disease pattern. Dr. Williams shook his head. "You're wasting our time with nonsense." But Dr. Chen, a younger doctor who had just joined their team, stepped forward. "Wait," she said. "What are you thinking?" Angela took a deep breath. "I think David is being poisoned." The hallway went silent. "That's impossible," Dr. Williams said. "We would have found poison in his blood tests." "Not if it's the right kind," Angela replied. "Some poisons leave the bloodstream quickly but keep damaging organs. And if someone is giving him small amounts over time, it would explain why he gets better and worse in cycles." Dr. Chen frowned. "What kind of poison?" Angela hesitated. These doctors already thought she was crazy. But looking at Sarah's desperate face, she had to try. "Heavy metal poisoning. Probably mercury or lead. It would explain the neurological symptoms, the organ failure, and the fingernail discoloration. The smell could be from a mercury compound." Dr. Martinez crossed his arms. Even if that were true, how would a child get exposed to mercury? "Someone would have to be giving it to him," Angela said quietly. "On purpose." Sarah gasped and grabbed Angela's arm. "You think someone is trying to hurt my David? Who would do that?" Angela looked around the hallway. Someone with access to his room. Someone he trusts. At that moment, a woman walked out of the elevator carrying flowers and a small thermos. She was about 50 years old, well-dressed, with a kind smile. "Hello, Sarah," the woman said. "I brought David some of his favorite soup." Sarah hugged her. "Doctors, This is Linda, my mother-in-law. She's been taking such good care of David, bringing him food every day." Angela watched Linda's face carefully. Something flickered in the older woman's eyes when Sarah mentioned the daily food visits. "That's very kind," Dr. Williams said. "Though David shouldn't be eating outside food right now." "Oh, it's just a little soup," Linda said sweetly. "It makes him feel better." Angela stepped forward. "What kind of soup?" Linda looked at her like she was nobody important. "Fish soup. David loves it." "Who are you?" "She's just the cleaning lady," Dr. Martinez said dismissively. "Don't mind her." But Angela wasn't done. "Fish soup. Every day. For how long?" Sarah answered, "About 2 weeks now. Linda started bringing it when David first got sick. She said it would help him get stronger." "Where do you get the fish?" Angela asked Linda directly. Linda's smile became tighter. "From the market, of course. Look, I don't need to answer questions from the help." Angela felt anger rise in her chest, but she stayed calm. "Dr. Chen, could you test that soup?" "This is ridiculous," Dr. Williams said. "We're not going to test soup because a janitor has a theory." But Dr. Chen looked thoughtful. "Actually, heavy metal poisoning isn't a bad theory. We haven't tested for that specifically." Linda's face went pale. "This is crazy talk. I'm David's grandmother. I would never hurt him." "Then you won't mind if we test the soup," Angela said calmly. I don't have to listen to this. I'm going home." Linda turned to leave, but Sarah caught her arm. "Linda, wait. If testing the soup can help figure out what's wrong with David, why not do it?" Linda looked trapped. Her kind grandmother act was starting to crack. Angela watched everything carefully. Years of studying chemistry had taught her to observe reactions, both chemical and human. "There's something else," Angela said. "Dr. Chin, you should test David's hair and fingernails. Heavy metals accumulate there. If I'm right, you'll find high levels of mercury." Dr. Chen nodded. "I can order those tests right now." Linda suddenly grabbed the thermos back. "You know what? The soup is old. I should throw it away and make fresh." "No," Angela said sharply, stepping forward. "That soup needs to be tested." Everyone stared at Angela. The quiet cleaning lady who usually stayed invisible had suddenly become the center of attention. Linda's mask finally fell completely. "You stupid woman. You don't know what you're talking about." "I know enough," Angela said. "I know that fish from certain areas can contain high levels of mercury. I know that someone could concentrate that mercury by preparing the fish a certain way. I know that small daily doses would cause exactly David's symptoms. And I know that whoever is doing this wanted it to look like a mysterious illness so no one would suspect poison." Sarah's face went white as she stared at her mother-in-law. "Linda, you couldn't. David is your grandson." Linda's face twisted with anger. "He's not my real grandson. He's the son of that witch who stole my Michael from me." The truth hit everyone like a lightning bolt. "Sarah isn't your daughter-in-law by blood," Angela said, understanding flooding through her. "David's father was Linda's stepson, not her biological child." "Michael was supposed to be mine," Linda screamed. "I raised him after his mother died. Then this woman came along and took him away from me. And then she had his baby. That child gets everything that should be mine. Michael's insurance money, his house, his love." Sarah stumbled backward in shock. "You've been poisoning my son because you're jealous? If David dies, you'll be too sad to fight me for Michael's inheritance," Linda said, her voice turning cold. "It would all come to me. His loving stepmother who's been taking care of his poor sick child." Dr. Williams finally understood what was happening. "Security," he called out. But Linda wasn't done. "You all listen to a janitor over doctors? She's nobody. Just a cleaner who couldn't even finish school. Angela stepped closer to Linda, her voice steady and strong. I may clean floors for a living, but I have a brain. And I know chemistry. And I know right from wrong. That's more than you can say. Security officers arrived and took Linda away, but not before she grabbed the thermos and smashed it on the floor, destroying the evidence. It doesn't matter, Dr. Chin said. We'll test David's hair and blood for heavy metals. If Angela is right, we'll find proof there. As the chaos died down, Sarah grabbed Angela's hands. You saved my son's life. The doctors couldn't figure it out, but you did. How can I ever thank you? Angela smiled softly. Just help David get better. That's all the thanks I need. Dr. Chen walked over to Angela. Where did you study chemistry? State University. I had to drop out when my husband died. Would you like to finish your degree? We have programs to help hospital employees get education. And after what you did today, I think you'd make an excellent addition to our lab team. For the first time in years, Angela felt hope blooming in her chest. Dr. Williams, who had been quiet since Linda's arrest, finally spoke. I owe you an apology. I judged you by your job title instead of your knowledge. That was wrong. Angela nodded but didn't say anything. She had heard apologies before from people who never changed their behavior. But this felt different. Word was already spreading through the hospital about the cleaning lady who solved a case that stumped the doctors. 3 hours later, the test results came back. David's blood showed dangerous levels of mercury, exactly as Angela had predicted. Dr. Chen found Angela in the supply closet, putting away her cleaning cart. The tests confirm it, Dr. Chen said. Mercury poisoning. Just like you said. We're starting treatment now. David should make a full recovery. Angela sat down on a bucket, feeling exhausted but relieved. How did you know? Dr. Chen asked. I pay attention, Angela said simply. When you're invisible to most people, you see things others miss. I've been cleaning that room for 3 days, watching Linda bring soup every day, watching David get worse after he ate it. I noticed the pattern. Dr. Chen sat down on another bucket. You know, I've been a doctor for 5 years, and I never would have thought of mercury poisoning. We're trained to look for common diseases, not deliberate poisoning by family members. That's the problem with systems, Angela said. They teach you to think inside a box. But chemistry taught me that reactions can be unexpected. People can be unexpected too. Dr. Chen smiled. About that job offer. I'm serious. We need people who think outside the box. Angela looked around the supply closet that had been her world for 2 years. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. But Angela? Today you weren't invisible. Today you were the most important person in this hospital. As Angela walked home that evening, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not just pride in solving the case, but hope for her future. She pulled out her phone and called her sister Mary. Mary, you'll never believe what happened today. What? Did someone finally notice you do good work? Someone tried to kill a child, and I stopped them. The phone went silent. Angela, what are you talking about? As Angela told her story, walking through the streets of downtown, she realized something important. For 2 years, she had felt ashamed of being just a cleaner. She had felt like she was wasting her education, her potential. But today showed her that knowledge and intelligence aren't wasted just because you use them in unexpected places. Her chemistry background helped her see what doctors missed. Her position as an invisible cleaner let her observe things others couldn't. Maybe being underestimated wasn't just a disadvantage. Maybe it was also a kind of power. So what happens now? Mary asked. Now I have a choice to make. Stay invisible or step into the light. Angela looked up at the hospital building, its windows glowing in the evening darkness. Somewhere up there, David was getting better. Sarah was holding her son's hand. Linda was in jail where she belonged. And tomorrow, Angela would decide what came next in her own story. But tonight, she had saved a life. And that felt like everything. As she reached her small apartment, Angela's phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Chen. Just wanted you to know, David's mercury levels are dropping already. He's going to be fine thanks to you. The whole hospital is talking about what you did. You're not invisible anymore. Angela, you're a hero. Angela smiled and looked at her reflection in her window. The same face, the same person, but somehow everything had changed. She had always been intelligent. She had always been observant. She had always been valuable. The only thing that changed today was that other people finally saw it too. But the most important thing was that she was starting to see it in herself again. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The choice between staying safe as a cleaner or risking everything to go back to school. The challenge of proving herself in a world that judged people by their titles instead of their abilities. But tonight, Angela was content to sit with the knowledge that when it mattered most, she had been brave enough to speak up. And one 8-year-old boy was alive because she did. 3 weeks later, Angela stood in the hospital parking lot, staring at the acceptance letter in her hands, not knowing that her biggest test was still coming. State University welcomes you back to complete your chemistry degree, the letter read. Full scholarship provided by City General Hospital Educational Fund. Angela's hands shook. After saving David's life, everything had changed. The hospital created a special fund just for her. Reporters wanted interviews. Dr. Chen had become her champion, fighting to get Angela the chance she deserved. But Angela was terrified. "You're going to be late for your shift," called James, the security guard who had become her friend over the past 2 years. Angela folded the letter and put it in her pocket. "James, what if I'm not smart enough? What if I was just lucky with David's case?" James walked over, his kind eyes full of understanding. "Angela, you figured out something that 8 doctors couldn't. That wasn't luck. That was your brain working the way it was meant to work." As they walked toward the hospital entrance, Angela saw a crowd gathered near the emergency doors. Ambulances were arriving fast, their sirens screaming. "What's happening?" Angela asked a nurse running past. "Chemical spill at the factory downtown," the nurse called back. 15 workers exposed to unknown chemicals. They're all getting sick, and we don't know what they were exposed to. Angela's heart started racing. Not from fear, but from recognition. This was exactly the kind of problem her chemistry knowledge could solve. She followed the chaos into the emergency room, where she saw something that made her blood run cold. Dr. Williams was in charge of the emergency response. The same Dr. Williams who had dismissed her 3 weeks ago. And he was making the same mistakes again. "Give them oxygen and 4 fluids," Dr. Williams ordered. "Standard treatment for chemical exposure." Angela watched as the workers were brought in. Some were unconscious. Others were vomiting. All of them had a strange purple rash on their skin. She knew that rash. From her second-year chemistry textbook, Chapter 12, Industrial Chemical Accidents. The purple rash was a sign of chromium poisoning, which required completely different treatment than what Dr. Williams was ordering. Angela stood frozen in the hallway, invisible again in her cleaning uniform. Should she speak up? Last time had worked out, but this was different. This was a mass emergency with TV cameras outside and hospital administrators watching every move. If she was wrong this time, she could get fired. She could lose her scholarship. She could go back to being nobody. But if she was right and stayed silent, 15 people could die. Angela closed her eyes and made her choice. "Dr. Williams," she called out, walking straight into the emergency room. He looked up, annoyed. "Angela, You can't be in here right now. We have an emergency. That's exactly why I need to be here, Angela said firmly. Those purple marks on their skin? That's chromium poisoning, not general chemical exposure. The treatment you're giving them won't work. It might make them worse. The entire emergency room went quiet. Nurses stopped working. Other doctors turned to stare. Dr. Williams' face turned red. You cannot be serious. You're going to diagnose 15 patients based on a rash. I'm going to save 15 lives based on chemistry, Angela shot back, her voice stronger than she felt inside. Dr. Chen appeared from behind a curtain. Angela? What are you thinking? Angela took a deep breath. Chromium poisoning causes purple skin discoloration, severe nausea, and organ failure. But regular 4 fluids won't help. They need chelation therapy to bind the chromium and remove it from their bodies. Every minute we wait makes it worse. Dr. Martinez, who had also doubted Angela before, stepped forward. Even if that's true, we can't start chelation therapy without knowing exactly what type of chromium and how much. Then test for it, Angela said. But start treatment now while you wait for results. These people don't have time for us to be careful. A voice from behind made everyone turn around. What seems to be the problem here? It was Dr. Peterson, the hospital's chief of staff. A tall, serious man who rarely came down to the emergency room unless something was very wrong. Dr. Williams straightened up. Sir, we have 15 chemical exposure victims. I'm following standard protocol, but this employee thinks she knows better than our emergency procedures. Dr. Peterson looked at Angela. You're the woman who solved the mercury poisoning case. Yes, sir. And you think these patients have chromium poisoning? I'm certain of it, sir. The symptoms match exactly. But Dr. Williams is treating them for general chemical exposure, which won't work. Dr. Peterson was quiet for a long moment, studying the patients. Finally, he spoke. Dr. Chen, order immediate blood tests for chromium levels. Dr. Martinez, prepare chelation therapy for all 15 patients. Dr. Williams, step aside. Dr. Williams looked shocked. Sir, you can't be serious. You're going to override emergency protocols based on the word of a janitor. Dr. Peterson's voice became ice cold. I'm going to save lives based on the expertise of someone who has proven herself. Angela, I want you to supervise the treatment protocol. Make sure we do this right. Angela felt like she was in a dream. Sir, I'm not a doctor. I can't supervise treatment. No, but you understand the chemistry better than anyone else in this room right now. Dr. Chen will handle the medical side. You make sure we're using the right chemical approach. For the next 4 hours, Angela worked alongside the medical team. She helped calculate dosages for the chelation drugs based on each patient's weight and symptoms. She monitored their progress, watching for signs that the treatment was working. And it was working. One by one, the patient's purple rashes began to fade. Their breathing improved. The unconscious ones started waking up. By evening, all 15 workers were stable and recovering. Dr. Peterson found Angela in the break room, exhausted but relieved. The blood tests came back, he said. High levels of hexavalent chromium. Exactly as you predicted. If we had continued with standard treatment, at least half of those patients would have died. Angela nodded, too tired to feel proud yet. Angela, I have an offer for you, Dr. Peterson continued. Our hospital needs someone like you. Someone who can bridge the gap between chemistry and medicine. I want to create a new position for you. Chemical emergency consultant. You would work directly with our emergency department, identifying and treating chemical exposures. Angela stared at him. But I don't have my degree yet. Then finish it while you work. We'll arrange your schedule around your classes. Full salary, benefits, and tuition covered. It was everything Angela had dreamed of, but bigger than she had ever imagined. "There's just one problem," Dr. Peterson added. "Dr. Williams has complained to the medical board about a non-medical employee overriding his decisions. He's trying to get you banned from participating in patient care." Angela's heart sank. "What does that mean?" "It means we need to prove, officially, that you saved those lives today. The medical board is reviewing the case. If they side with Dr. Williams, you won't be able to work in any medical setting." Angela felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. After coming so far, she might lose everything because she had dared to challenge the system. "When will they decide?" she asked. "Tomorrow morning. The hearing is at 9 a.m. That night, Angela couldn't sleep. She walked the streets of her neighborhood, thinking about everything that had happened. 3 weeks ago, she was invisible. Today, she had saved 15 lives. Tomorrow, she might lose the right to help anyone ever again. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, David's mother. "Saw the news about what you did today. David wants to know if you're the superhero who saved him. I told him yes. Thank you for being brave again." Another text from Dr. Chen. "Whatever happens tomorrow, you should know, you're the best diagnostician I've ever worked with. Chemistry or medicine, you have a gift." More messages kept coming. Nurses from the hospital. James the security guard. Even some of the patients from today who had tracked down her number to thank her. But the message that meant the most came from her sister Mary. "I'm proud of you. Not because you saved people, but because you refused to stay invisible when people needed you. That takes more courage than any degree can teach." The next morning, Angela walked into the medical board hearing wearing her best dress. The room was full of doctors, lawyers, and hospital administrators. Dr. Williams sat at one table with his lawyer, looking confident. Angela sat alone at another table, too poor to afford legal help. "This hearing will determine whether Ms. Angela Thompson overstepped her authority in yesterday's emergency," announced Dr. Foster, the head of the medical board. "Dr. Williams, please state your case." Dr. Williams stood up, looking important in his expensive suit. "Members of the board, what happened yesterday was dangerous and unacceptable. A hospital janitor with no medical training interfered with emergency care, overrode physician decisions, and put patients at risk. If we allow this, where does it end? Will we let janitors perform surgery next?" Some of the board members nodded. "Ms. Thompson's interference could have killed those patients," Dr. Williams continued. "Medical decisions must be made by medical professionals, not by cleaning staff who read chemistry books." When it was Angela's turn to speak, she stood up slowly, her knees shaking. "I didn't interfere with medical care," she said quietly. "I identified a chemistry problem that was being treated as a medical problem. The patients were dying because they were getting the wrong treatment for their condition." Dr. Foster leaned forward. "Ms. Thompson, do you believe you are qualified to make medical diagnoses?" "No, sir. But I am qualified to recognize chemical reactions and poisoning symptoms." "That's not medicine, that's chemistry," Dr. Williams interrupted. "She has no credentials, no medical training. She's a janitor." Angela felt anger flare up inside her. "I may be a janitor, but I have eyes. I have a brain. And I have knowledge. 3 weeks ago, you couldn't save David because you couldn't see what was right in front of you. Yesterday, you couldn't save those workers for the same reason." The room went silent. Angela continued, her voice growing stronger. "You want to talk about credentials? I spent 3 years studying chemistry at a top university. I understand chemical reactions, toxicology, and poison identification better than most people in this room. Just because I clean floors to pay my bills doesn't mean my knowledge stopped existing." Dr. Foster asked, "Ms. Thompson, if you're so qualified, why are you working as a janitor?" For a moment, Angela felt shame creep back in. Then she remembered all the people who had texted her last night, all the lives she had saved. "Because my husband died and left me with debts I couldn't pay," she said simply. "Because sometimes life forces you to take whatever job you can find to survive. Because in this world, People judge you by your job title instead of your abilities. But being poor doesn't make me stupid. Dr. Williams stood up again. This is exactly the problem. She thinks being poor and reading books makes her qualified to practice medicine. Angela turned to face him directly. I don't practice medicine. I use chemistry to identify problems that medical training doesn't cover. Yesterday, 15 people were going to die because you were treating them for the wrong type of poisoning. I didn't perform surgery or prescribe medicine. I identified the poison and suggested the correct treatment approach. That's what a chemist does. Dr. Foster looked through his papers. The blood tests confirm Ms. Thompson's diagnosis was correct. The treatment she recommended saved all 15 patients. That was lucky, Dr. Williams said desperately. Twice? Angela asked. David 3 weeks ago, 15 workers yesterday. That's not luck. That's knowledge applied correctly. Dr. Chen stood up in the audience. May I speak? Dr. Foster nodded. I'm Dr. Chen. Emergency medicine. I've worked with Angela on both cases. She doesn't try to practice medicine. She identifies chemical problems that we miss because we're trained to look for diseases, not deliberate poisoning or industrial accidents. Her chemistry background gives her knowledge that complements our medical training. She makes us better doctors. Dr. Peterson also stood. The hospital supports Ms. Thompson completely. We want to hire her specifically because her skills fill a gap in our knowledge. Chemical emergencies require chemical expertise, not just medical knowledge. Dr. Foster looked around the room. This case raises interesting questions about how we define medical practice versus scientific consultation. Angela realized this was her moment. If she was going to fight for her future, it had to be now. Members of the board, she said, standing up straight. I'm not trying to be a doctor. I'm trying to be a chemist who happens to work in a hospital. When someone is poisoned, the chemistry of what's happening in their body matters just as much as the medical treatment. I can see chemical problems that medical training doesn't teach you to look for. She paused, looking each board member in the eye. 3 weeks ago, you had 8 doctors trying to save one little boy, and they couldn't do it. Not because they weren't good doctors, but because they weren't looking at the problem the right way. Sometimes you need different kinds of knowledge working together. Dr. Williams made one last desperate attempt. If we allow this, every janitor in every hospital will think they can diagnose patients. Angela smiled for the first time all day. No, they won't. Because most janitors didn't study chemistry for 3 years. Most janitors don't spend their free time reading toxicology textbooks. Most janitors aren't me. The board talked quietly among themselves for what felt like hours. Finally, Dr. Foster announced their decision. The board finds that Ms. Thompson acted appropriately within her area of expertise. Chemical identification and toxicology consultation do not constitute medical practice when used to support, not replace, physician decision-making. Ms. Thompson is cleared of all charges. Angela felt her knees go weak with relief. But Dr. Foster wasn't done. Furthermore, the board recommends that City General Hospital's new chemical emergency consultant position be approved immediately. We believe this type of specialized knowledge integration could save more lives in the future. Angela couldn't believe what she was hearing. Dr. Williams stormed out of the room, but Angela barely noticed. She was surrounded by supporters, Dr. Chen, Dr. Peterson, nurses, even some board members who wanted to congratulate her. 6 months later, Angela walked across the graduation stage at State University, accepting her Bachelor of Science in Chemistry degree. In the audience, Sarah cheered while David, fully recovered, held a sign that said, "Thank you, Ms. Angela." Dr. Chen was there too, along with James the security guard and her sister Mary. After the ceremony, Dr. Peterson approached her with another offer. Angela, how would you feel about starting a graduate program in forensic chemistry? The hospital will sponsor your studies, and you can develop our new chemical emergency department." Angela thought about how far she had come. From invisible janitor to graduate student. From being dismissed by doctors to working alongside them as an equal. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "But I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to teach a class for hospital staff. Doctors, nurses, janitors, security guards, everyone. I want to teach them how to recognize chemical emergencies. Because you never know who might notice something important." Dr. Peterson smiled. "I think that's exactly what this hospital needs." As Angela drove home that evening, she thought about all the invisible people working in hospitals, schools, offices, and factories everywhere. People with knowledge and skills that no one bothered to recognize. Her phone rang. It was Dr. Chen. "Angela, we just got called to a suspicious death at downtown hotel. The police think it might be poison. Are you free to consult?" Angela smiled and turned her car around. "On my way." She was no longer invisible. But more importantly, she had learned that she never needed to be invisible in the first place. Her knowledge had always been valuable. Her observations had always mattered. Her voice had always deserved to be heard. The only thing that had changed was that she finally believed it herself. And now, she was going to make sure that other invisible people got the chance to step into the light too. Because everyone deserves to be seen for who they really are. The end.